So there are some texts which go ahead and give another for 13 or 14 verses. So we will take those verses today. I think I've sent them to you. So we are on verse number 32 and we'll chant. So just unmute yourself and we can chant. Avachinnaschitchidaabhasaha Avachinnaschidabhasaha
अवच्छिन्नश्चिदाभासः
Tritiya स्वप्नकल्पितः
तृतीया स्वप्नकल्पितः
विज्ञेस्त्रिविधो जीवः
विघ्नेस्त्रिविधो जीवः
तत्राद्यः पारमार्थिकः
तत्राद्यः पारमार्थिकः.
Okay, so I just muted you all. So this is the 32nd verse, and it's a new approach to the teaching because he's talking about three jivas within one jiva. So he say, meaning that whenever I say I, the word I, when I use the pronoun I should be aware that I can refer to any one of the three jivas. So there are three entities, three jivas in me, and he gives the names. So he says one is a Paramarthika Jiva. So Paramarthika Jiva is the OC, the original consciousness, as we saw in Tattva Bodha. The second one is the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is the reflected consciousness, but in the Jagrat Avastha, in the waking state. So Vyavaharika is the reality, Vyavaharika Satyam is the reality, which is the transactional reality for us, where we, are awake. So that is Vyavaharika. So he says that consciousness, that reflected consciousness, RC, in that Jagrat Avastha, in the waking state, he calls it as a Vyavaharika Jiva. And the first one was Paramarthika Jiva, which is the original consciousness. And then he gives a third one. He says that when you are sleeping, dreaming actually, so the reflected consciousness is of course there, but it's a different variance of the RC that you have in the awakening state. In the state when you are awake, in the Jagrata Avastha, the RC is more complete. And here, the RC is less complete. He calls it a Prathibhasika Jiva. So you have three Jivas, Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, and Pratibhasika Jiva. So the first one is OC, Paramarthika. The second one is RC, the reflected consciousness in Jagrata Avastha, in the waking state, which he calls Vyavaharika Jiva. And the third one he calls Pratibhasika Jiva, which is the RC in the dream state. So three RCs. One is original OC. You can call it the Sakshi also. So that's an OC. Then there are two reflected consciousness. So Chidabhasa 1 and Chidabhasa 2. So your OC is the original consciousness. Then there is a reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa, in Jagrata Avastha. We'll call it Chidabhasa 1. And there is a reflected consciousness in the dream state, in Swapna Avastha. We'll call it Chidabhasa 2. So two types of RCs and one is the OC. The original consciousness is the Paramarthika Jiva. Paramarthika means the absolute reality. Param Artha, absolute reality. And this Jiva is independent of the body, or for that matter, for the universe itself. The problem is what? This Jiva is the most supreme Jiva, the Paramarthika Jiva, which we otherwise call Brahman or Atma, is independent of the body or even the universe. But there is a problem. that this jiva, this consciousness, the OC, is not available for any transactions at all, because transactions need a reflecting medium. Like when we say I see light, I can see only reflected light. Similarly, the OC can be perceived only as a RC. OC itself can never be perceived. Only when it's reflected off some reflecting medium, it becomes a RC. Only the RC can be perceived. Only the RC can transact. So this is the first meaning when you say I. And whenever a jnani says I, he says Aham Brahmasmi, he means this Paramarthika Jiva only. The one who is completely independent of any Anatma, the body or even the universe. Now the second Jiva is the Vyavaharika Jiva. Essentially it is the same OC, it is the same Paramarthika Jiva, but this is manifested in the reflecting medium, which is the body. So this is Chidabhasa 1. And unlike the OC, which is all pervading, this Chidabhasa 1, this Vyavaharika Jiva, is a localized entity. Why localized? Because there is a reflecting medium. And therefore the reflection is only available in the reflecting medium. This is the Chidabhasa, this is the RC. It's available only in that reflecting medium, which is the body-mind sense complex. And this Chidabhasa 1 is available for transactions. So it is Chidabhasa 1, the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is talking just now. It is Chidabhasa 1, the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is listening to this class. OC cannot listen directly, because OC is incapable of transactions. And this is the Vyavaharika Jiva, because that is available only in the Vyavaharika Shariram, in that transactional body that we have, body, mind, sense complex, and therefore only we can experience the waking state, the Jagrat Avastha. When is this Jiva available? How long is he available? So Chidabhasa 1, the Vyavaharika Jiva, the RC1, is available as long as the mind is active. And when you go to sleep, that mind is resolved. When the mind is resolved, remember the mind is the reflecting medium. Mind is resolved means the mind is no longer active, no longer available to function as a reflecting medium. And therefore, when you say mind is resolved, remember that RC is also resolved. The Chidabhasa 1 disappears when the mind goes into deep sleep. When mind goes into Sushupti Avastha, Chidabhasa 1 vanishes. Now, this is the Vyavaharika Chidabhasa. Now, when I go to sleep, supposing I start to dream. So what happens? Chidabhasa 1 is no longer available, only partially available, because the mind is available but only functioning partially. What does it do? The physical body is inactive. So the Nidra Shakti creates what? It creates another body. Because the physical body is in the sleeping state, it is no longer available. So the RC is no longer identified with the physical body. It is now identified only with the Sukshma Shariram and the Karna Shariram. So RC1, Chidabhasa 1 has disappeared, because Chidabhasa 1 is there only as long as the physical body is also there. Now what happens? Because physical body is not there, the external world cannot be experienced. And because the external world cannot be experienced, what happens? The Nidra Shakti, it creates a new world. It creates the dream world. It creates the dream body. It creates the dream sense organs. So Nidra Shakti creates the Swapna Shariram, Swapna Indriyas as well as the Swapna Jagat. The Swapna universe is also created. And so the mind projects the entire universe, the body, the people in that universe, in the dream universe, as also the related dream indriyas, the dream sense organs. But the mind does not know that this is a dream. The sleeper's mind does not know it's a dream. Only when you wake up, RC1, the waker's mind, knows that it was a dream. Now in this dream universe, it's as if sentient universe, right? Because there are people talking in that dream, there are people walking in that dream, there are people interacting in the dream, all sort of things are happening in the dream, and therefore that dream body in the dream also has to have a consciousness. So this is called the RC2, the Chidabhasa 2, reflected consciousness of the Swapna Shariram. This is called Pratibhasika Shariram, the dream body. And the consciousness associated with this dream body is called the Pratibhasika Jiva. What is the job of this Pratibhasika Jiva? It is to sense and experience the dream universe. And if you ask how long will that Jiva be there? It will be there as long as the Pratibhasika Shariram is there. Which will be there as long as the Pratibhashika universe is there. The Pratibhasika Prapancha, as long as that is there, the Pratibhasika Shariram will be there, and therefore the Pratibhasika Jiva will be there. Similarly, what is the lesson we can draw? What is the teaching over here? You have to look at the Pratibhasika sequence, how it works. When the Pratibhasika universe is born, when this dream universe is born, at that time the dream bodies are born, the dream sense organs are born, and all the dream experiences take place. What happens when the dream gets over? The Chidabhasa is resolved. It vanishes. And the teaching is therefore that similarly, when the Vyavaharika Chidabhasa will vanish when the Vyavaharika universe vanishes. But what is constant across both these states, either in the Pratibhashika state or in the Vyavaharika state, one Jiva, the Paramarthika Jiva, is always there. So Paramarthika Jiva will always exist. And remember that the Paramarthika Prapancha, the Paramarthika universe does not exist. Only Vyavaharika Prapancha and Pratibhasika Prapanchas exist. Now look at the words. He says avachinna. Avachinna is a part. So a part of the original consciousness, which is obtaining where? Within the body. A part of obtaining within the body. And Chidabhasa, the consciousness reflected in the waking state, in the waking mind. So in the Vyavaharika mind, in the waker's mind, what happens? He experiences the Jagrata Avastha. This is a reflection confined to the reflecting medium, which is the mind, Sukshma Shariram. And hence, it is avachinna, it is not all pervading. It is confined to this body. So, avachinna chidabhasa. That is a reflection obtaining in the reflecting medium. That is the first one. Chidabhasa 1. Then he says tritiya. So, tritiya means the third one. Why third? Because the first is the pratibhasika jiva, the OC. The second, the avachinna jiva or the avachinna chidabhasa is RC1, which is being reflected of the mind in the waking state, Jagrata Avastha. And Tritiya, the third one, he says Swapna Kalpitaha, obtaining in the projected universe, obtaining in the projected mind. So the Swapna Shariram is projected. Remember, that's a very interesting concept. For a reflection to take place, there has to be a mind. And if your Vyavaharika mind is asleep, he is saying that The Swapna mind is projected, but Swapna mind, the dream mind, is acting as a reflecting medium. In that dream mind, the consciousness is being reflected, the OC is being reflected. That is the Chidabhasa too, reflected in this mind. And who is the creator, the projector of this? The waker, of course. How? Only by Sankalpa. Because you don't have to do anything to project the universe in your dream. Only by the will it is there. Not will as in conscious, but the will of the sleeping mind. So in Swapna Shariram also, in the dream body also, there will be a Chidabhasa. And this Swapna Shariram is sentient because of the Chidabhasa. And therefore he says, this Chidabhasa is Swapna Kalpitaha. Swapna Kalpitaha, if you want to complete the sentence, you have to say Swapna Kalpita Chidabhasa. Supplying the Chidabhasa. That means the third one is the Chidabhasa, which is obtaining in the mind, which has been projected by the waker's mind. When the waker's mind has gone to sleep, the dream mind has been projected, and that is the Swapna Kalpita Chidabhasa, RC of that mind. And basically, Pratibhasika means what? Subjective. Why subjective? Because we say that Pratibhasika exists because it exists only in appearance. You see it, therefore it exists, and it exists only for you. That dream is there. Your dream is only for you. Nobody else can see your dream. Therefore, it is very subjective. Chidabhasa becomes a Pratibhasika Chidabhasa. And therefore, the author says, Trivida Jiva iti Vignayaha. Vignayaha means may you note, may you know. What? Trivida Jivaha. There are three Jivas. Tatra, among them, Adhya, the first one, Paramarthikaha is the first one. The Sakshi, the Chaitanyam, also called OC, also called Bimba Chaitanyam, also called Paramarthikaha. So, absolute reality which cannot be negated at all. That is the first one. Okay, then the second and the third one. Okay. So now look at the verse number 33. Unmute yourself and we will just chant that verse. Avacheda kalpitasya avachhedyam tu vastavam tasmin jivatpamaropat brahmatvam tu swabhavatah. Okay, so I'm muting all again. So we said the nature of the Paramarthika Jiva is that the OC is as if enclosed in the body. So remember, the OC is all pervading. So whenever we say that OC is enclosed in the body, you have to add as if, seemingly so. Just like whenever you say that space is there in the bottle, that bottle is only seemingly enclosing the space. It's not really so, it's only seemingly so, because it is all pervading. Similarly, the Brahman, the Atma, the OC is all pervading, and therefore the truth is that Atma is not within one body, but that all bodies are within that OC. There is only one indivisible, all pervading consciousness called the OC, in which all the bodies exist. There is no question of any body or any entity enclosing this limitless OC. Okay. Now, consciousness, that is OC, is Paramarthika, is a higher order of reality. And the body is Kalpitaha, a lower order of reality. And therefore, remember, a lower order of reality can never limit a higher order of reality. So the body, which is the lower order of reality, Vyavaharika Satyam, is lower than Paramarthika Satyam. Where is the question of a lower order limiting a higher order? Just like a dream room cannot limit the movement of the waker. A dream jail cannot limit the movement of the waker. Hence he says, avacheda kalpita syat. The enclosed body is kalpitaha, of a lower order of reality. Then what? Then avachedyam. Avachedyam is that which is enclosed. The enclosed consciousness is of a higher order of reality, and this is the same as the Sakshi mentioned in the previous sloka. And what is that? Vastavam. Vastavam means real, Satyam, Paramarthikam. So he says the enclosure of the body is mithya because it is a lower order of reality. The enclosed, seemingly enclosed consciousness is, however, Satyam. And since the enclosure is not real, is mithya, it is a lower order of reality than the Satyam. It cannot limit the consciousness at all. And hence the limitation of consciousness which we all feel in this body is only a seeming limitation. So, hence he says, Tasmin. Tasmin means there. Where? In that enclosed consciousness, in that seemingly enclosed consciousness, Jivatvam, the limitation, the status of being a Jiva, the status of being mortal, the status of being finite. So, Jivatvam is that status of being a Jiva, and Jiva means everything which is finite, mortal, limited. And therefore, Jivatvam is that status of being mortal, of being finitude. Aropat is a superimposition, is falsely attributed to what? To that enclosed consciousness which is limitless and which is your real nature. So he says, Brahmatvam tu Swabhavataha. That Brahma which you are, upon that, what have you done? You have superimposed the limitation of the Jivatvam. So during Sushupti, which, when you say during Sushupti, in which avastha are you? You are in Paramarthika Swarupam, original Swarupam. But we don't know that. Why? Because in Sushupti, the mind doesn't function. The instrument required for knowing is not there. And the Sushupti, though you are really in Paramarthika Swarupam, you don't know because there is no method of knowing. And that's why he says, Tasmin Jivatvam Aropat. On that enclosed consciousness, seemingly enclosed consciousness, which is infinite, Jivatvam Aropat, you have falsely superimposed the limitation of being a Jiva, and it defines Tasmin Brahmatvam tu Swabhavataha. By nature, you are Brahman. That Brahman is the Swarupa of I, the original consciousness, and my nature is Brahman. But I don't know, and therefore I have superimposed this. What is easily seen by me, what is perceived by me is that this body is mortal, this mind is changing all the time, this mind is also finite, this mind is subject to all sort of problems in this life. See, all the attributes of the body and mind I have superimposed upon me, which is Brahman, and now I have converted myself from the infinite Brahman into this miserable Jiva. With this I'll stop. Any questions we can take?
Sir.
Yes,
Okay, continue, please.
Oh, thank you. You just said ki I have converted. So who is that I?
the Jiva, the RC. The RC has not realized that he is the OC. The RC is identified with the body mind sense complex. Because identification has taken place, he has taken himself as the body mind complex, which means he has owned up all the limitations of the body and the mind. And owning up of the limitation is the superimposition of that limitation upon you, the OC.
Okay, so the original consciousness is akarta and abhokta, but the RC is not, right? So it can do, it can act.
Correct. RC can act. RC is what you call ahankara.
Okay, okay,
Ahankara
okay.
not
Thank
in
you.
the Dharma Shastram sense,
Thank you.
ahankara in the Vedanta sense, which means the body identified with the or blessed with the consciousness. That is what is called ahankara, the one which can act.
Sir.
Yes, Shweta.
Sir, I have a question. This Jiva, we relate this Jiva.
Smriti, I couldn't hear you. Can you just repeat? We can't hear you, Smriti. I think we lost her. Shweta, you go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I've always had this question. When we dream, we have this dream world which we create, our own creation with the past memories and all that. But sometimes we remember our dreams and sometimes we don't remember our dreams. So I had this whole thing about confusion about always that is this OC who is observing, like of course Akarta, but OC is actually the one remembering all this, or is the RC?
It's only the RC. OC has no way of remembering because remembering is an activity requiring a medium.
But then we don't have ahankara or any kind of egoic tendencies in our dream. Most of the
No,
time, we have our fears and
no. When you say
our all
ahankara in Vedanta, it doesn't mean the negative attribute.
the ego.
Ahankara in Vedanta
Yeah.
simply
Yes.
means the body mind sense complex plus consciousness. So RC essentially. RC is ahankara.
Yes.
So RC is the only one which can know anything. So memory and all that means knowing, right?
Yes.
OC has no way of knowing anything.
But that RC has created that whole world. Because of RC, we are able to create that dream world. But why don't we remember sometime and we remember sometime? Like why the differences?
No, that's only a individual thing. Like not everybody remembers dreams. If something is particularly vivid, you'll remember. Otherwise, most dreams one hardly remembers. That's common to everybody. So that's got nothing to do with Vedanta. That's you'll have a lot of people talking about dreams in many ways. But as far as Vedanta is concerned, a dream is the projecting of some previous memories. And we do say that in dream also you have sort of exhausted some prarabdha karma because the pain is there in the dream. But beyond that, dreams are important in Vedanta, but not in the way you say. It is an important in terms of understanding the relationship between the dreamer and the waker and the universe, or the waker and Brahman. That relationship we take. For that, Vedanta takes dreams as very important. Because a dreamer and the waker, what is the relationship? That is the same relationship which is there
That's
between
what I
the
meant.
jiva
Yeah.
and the OC.
Yeah, I'm not able to frame the question properly, but I also want to understand what is the like how to recognize OC. I mean, you can't recognize OC, but I'm
There is no way of seeing the OC, that's
I
what you are saying.
will.
Your OC recognition is
Yes.
simply by way of knowing, and that knowing comes only through the Shastra study. You have to keep on listening to Shastra until you're convinced that what Shastram is saying
Yeah.
is right, that you are the OC. So it takes years before that,
Yes. Okay.
things vanish. That's why I said that
Come.
Vedantic study is a long, long process.
Yes. Sir.
Even
Thank you,
though
sir.
you may know intellectually, you'll keep forgetting. So that time, that particular state of time when you are able to recall effortlessly that I am Brahman, that's a long, long, long time away. It takes years of study.
Yes, sir. That's my point, is that if you are dreaming and in the dream you remember this,
You
that
won't. How will you?
that is like a miracle. I
You
mean,
won't.
then it's like you're
There is
actually assimilated
your
completely.
willpower doesn't come into operation in the dream because the mind is not functional fully. So you can't do a dream which you want to do.
Okay, sir.
Om Acharya.
Indiraji boli.
So you said Vedanta, dream state is important. Like I would like to know what is actually, why are these dreams? Like what role do they play in terms of realizing Brahman?
No, they play no role. They only serve as a prakriya, the understanding technique. But you can't directly use a dream as a role to understanding or to knowledge. But the study of dreams is in a different way. It's relation, how it works, what is a dream, what is a relationship. That's what I was explaining, that when the dreaming state is over, what happens? You revert back to the waking state. And similarly, if you consider the whole Vyavaharika as a dream, when that is over, you revert back to the Paramarthika state. That is what is the importance for understanding. So Prakriya. So, and that Prakriya comes in the Upanishads. It's too early to explain.
Okay. So why the dream take place first of all? Is there any like why does it even exist?
Dreams,
Like RC exists to reflect the OC. Yeah.
for that you have to,
Why
if
do
the RC
even
was
like
not
dream
there, you
states
wouldn't be
exist?
asking any questions. Isn't it? It is the RC who asks questions. It is the RC who tries to understand. So RC is necessary for understanding what OC is. Understanding what OC is liberation. Without RC, there can be no liberation.
Right, yeah, that I understand. So, I mean, like, why even this dream state exists? Like, where has it come from? Like, I mean, like, why
So
is it there?
Vedanta simply says that your mind is like a tape recorder. During the waking state, you record as well as playback, and in the what you call dream state, there is only playback. So you can playback only what you recorded. So whatever the experiences you have gone through in your waking state, those experiences will be replayed in the dreaming state.
Why does even replay? Like, why can't we just sleep? Like, just like without anything. Why does it even has to replay? Is
That
it to
is how
do
it
with
is.
some samskaras? Have to.
It can be taken as an exhaustion of prarabdha. There are experiences where you get pleasure and pain, and therefore it is exhaustion of prarabdha.
Raviji,
Okay.
Om Mahalakshmi.
Thank you.
I have this question about Swapnavastha. Why do we always say that we are somehow unaware and it is like a playback of the recording? If they exist, the whole concept of lucid dreaming, and when we are aware in the dreams, for instance, I remember who I am and that my body is sleeping, and I can manage the dream, I can change the scenery, I can act in the same way like I act in this Jagrat Avastha. So how to explain this? Why my direct experience contradicts what Vedanta
Vedanta
says?
doesn't accept that you can do that because your mind is not functional. So I haven't yet to
But
hear of
it
anybody.
is.
No, you cannot. In a dream state, you cannot control what you are doing. Otherwise, it's no longer a dream. Then you are daydreaming. That's different. So that's the.
You mean I'm
Also,
not in
Om
the
Ravi
dream
sir,
completely?
this is also related to mystical experiences, right? And Vedanta does not expect mystical experience,
Vedanta
accepts.
doesn't say that mystical
Or
experiences cannot be there, but it simply says that they are not useful for liberation.
yes,
Yeah, because you can.
and of course, lucid dreaming is just to know about your personality and explore more about your personality. But apart from that, it is not directly connected to liberation.
I don't know how many of you have read about lucid dreaming and how many of you have really experienced. I don't think anybody has experienced, or if at least I don't know of any. And whether it is really lucid dreaming or whether it is some sort of wishful thinking, all that you have to analyze very carefully. You can, of course, wish a particular dream to come true if you have been thinking about it before you go to sleep. Once you are sleeping, remember there is no willpower at play. Willpower is for the awakened mind, for the Jagrata Avastha mind, not for the Swapna Avastha mind. And therefore, there is no question of controlling your destiny during the dream. Because the willpower is not there at all. The dream mind has no access to willpower.
Om Raviji.
Yes, Rajni. Oh, sorry, Apurva.
Uh, yeah. Raviji, so when people don't remember their dreams, because sometimes people, when they wake up, they remember their dreams, and there are many times when people say, I don't dream or I can't remember my dreams. So when people are not even aware whether they get dreams or whether they're dreaming or not, what does that imply?
His dreams have not been powerful enough to be remembered. See, you will remember a dream only if it's got a significant impact. That it has frightened you, or it has come up with something which you have been dreaming again and again about the same thing. Then you will remember. See, the mind is not fully non-functional in a dream, right? Only in Sushupti Avastha, the mind is fully non-functional. In a dream,
Yeah.
partly the mind is functional. But your faculties like that of analysis and decision making have gone. They are not functional in that dream. The Vijnanamaya Kosha, I doubt, is functional in dream.
Okay. Okay, Raviji. Thank you.
Okay. So with this, we'll stop. Thank you very much. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat,
Om
Om
Namah
Namah
Shivaya.
Shivaya. Thank you.
Have a good night,
Namaste.
guys.
Hare
Take care.
You
Bye
too.
bye.